So we're not necessarily 100% sure if biofuel is going to be the answer to decarbonize shipping or not. We think it's definitely a short to midterm solution that has the potential, right, to be used to reduce the carbon footprint of the existing fleet. So are we using biofuel today? Absolutely. We're actually amongst the few that already has a biofuel program. So we're not just talking about trials and pilots. We're talking about scale. We're talking about a full-fledged program. We've supplied biofuels to more than 30 ships. Approximately 12 to 13,000 tons of biofuels have been supplied, mainly in Rotterdam, but we've just also started a biofuel supply program in Singapore, and we've supplied 2 ships successfully without any issues. So the good thing about biofuels is that it requires zero capital investment and it's a drop-in fuel. So with the existing fleet, you can immediately start using it to reduce your carbon footprint anywhere between 20 to 30%. So we're definitely big believers in biofuels, specifically biofuels, or especially biofuels that are coming from second generation waste.
Yes.
And Cargill, we've actually built a biofuel plant in Belgium, in Ghent, that is processing waste into biofuels. So yeah, we definitely believe in it. But I think the big issue with biofuels is our access to waste oil. So out of 50 million tons of cooking oil, for example, that is being consumed globally, we're only recycling 8 million tons. So imagine if we have the logistics and the network and the setup to collect 50% of that or 75% of that, then the potential for biofuels is going to be much, much bigger, and it's going to play a bigger part in decarbonizing maritime. So it's going to definitely have a huge positive impact on sustainability, right? Because the more biofuels we can consume as an industry, the more we're going to be able to reduce our carbon footprint. And in terms of cost is, in my opinion, is a product of scale. The more we can scale our access to waste oil, the more refineries we are capable of building that can produce biofuels from second generation cooking oil or waste oils, the better off we will be able to reduce that cost. Now, the biggest factor that will also play into this is if there's a carbon tax. If a carbon tax is introduced by IMO, then this will automatically compensate for the additional premium that today we are paying for the biofuels. We have subsidies, for example, in Europe, and we leverage those subsidies quite significantly. And if there is a carbon tax, then ultimately the premium that you're paying for the biofuels is going to be net off by your carbon reductions. So I don't think we can generalize. I don't think we can generalize, right? Because growth of commodities depends on so many different factors, right? On geopolitical factors, on macro factors, micro factors. So it really varies. But I think in general, commodities and the trading of commodities is going to change, and it's going to change significantly, right? As much as there has been globalization so far, as much as we feel that going forward there might be a lot more localization. So localization in terms of trading patterns, that's a big possibility, but also localization in the deployment of the fleet. So as we go on to this decarbonization journey, we don't think that the answer is going to be one specific type of fuel or zero carbon fuel, whether it's methanol or ammonia or hydrogen. We think it's going to be a combination. So what does that mean? That means that certain segments and certain trades will be using ships that are using certain types of zero carbon fuels. So the tradability the flexibility that we are enjoying today is not necessarily going to be there tomorrow. So, which is going to ultimately make, freight procurement and trading freight a much more complex process. Yeah, so that's an excellent question, and I think we first need to agree that the maritime sector is a sector that is very challenging to abate, right? And the IMO's challenge is quite a big undertaking. And why is that so? It's because the maritime sector consists of several subsectors that are extremely different in intricacies and extremely different in dynamics as well. You can't compare the dry bulk market with the container market, and you can't compare the tanker market with the cruise market, for example, or the cruise fleet. Completely different dynamics. So the IMO has a very big challenge to be able to roll out policies that actually can apply to all of these different subsectors. I think we're definitely making headway. We have the introduction of the CII. We have the introduction of EEXI. So EEXI is basically the asset or the ship's energy efficiency, which is excellent. CAI is more of an operational index. And while we know that it's not necessarily perfect, and we know that it suits certain segments more than others, but we need to be pragmatic, and we need to say it's a good starting point. And we hope that as we go along in this journey, these policies are going to be refined and fine-tuned to cater more for each subsegment or subsector's requirements. And obviously the biggest challenge of all is the IMO. When is the IMO going to deploy a market-based measure that will give everybody an opportunity to have a level playing field and make the right investment decisions to promote decarbonization even further?